Hello everybody, it is so great to be here again for this wonderful installment of, your favorite show, Lucas and Tree. Lucas is not here today, but he's here in spirit. But I'm in Miami currently and Lucas is still in New York, so we decided to have a little bit of fun with this week and introduce a new guest, which you have seen many times on our channel.
We look for things and she's like, I can't find it, it's nowhere, it's lost. And I'll go in like 2 minutes later, find it.
You're talking like as if that isn't a universal experience for all children everywhere.
She was 22.
But now he's going to be my co-host for this special installment of Lucas and Tree, and we'll see how that goes. But basically, I wanted to invite my dad on here today to kind of ask him some questions because I don't know if you guys know this, but my dad is a mental health professional. Both my parents are actually, they're both in the mental health field, which is where I get my glorious insight from. So I wanted to ask directly from the source his opinions on a lot of things that I feel like our subscribers have a lot of trouble with, and hopefully can install some hope and some advice that I haven't been able to do for you in these past few years. So
I think you've done a terrific job.
Oh, thank you, Dad.
It's one of the things I love most about watching the videos is how positive and loving and uplifting it is. So yeah. I think you've given really great suggestions and advice. They do sound a lot like your dear old dad, but hey,
He says that because he's my dad. It's fine.
Doesn't fall far from the tree.
From the tree, literally. I guess just to start off with, do you want to tell the people a little bit about your background, like what got you into the mental health field, what made you want to pursue something like this?
Yeah, I've always wanted to help people, and I decided when I was just starting off in college, I had gone through like a really difficult experience, very painful experience, where my uncle, which was like my favorite uncles, the only one I really knew, my family came from Cuba, and I basically, most of them remained there, but I was brought here. My dad couldn't come right away, and he brought me over, and my mom, and we stayed with my uncle, which was his brother. And when I was little, I used to call him Paye, which meant Papi, when I was like about 2 years old, 3 years old. And he would say, no, it's not Papi, it's Tío Papi, uncle, like Uncle Dad, right? That name stuck. And so he was the only family member I really knew from Cuba, and he was a great man. But, he went through, and we didn't know this. He was going through a depression. He didn't tell anybody about it, and ultimately he wound up, killing himself. And that was very hard for me as a loss. And one day I was in my school counselor's office waiting to pick classes and stuff like that, and I saw this brochure on the crisis hotline, and I said, well, I've always wanted to help people, and why not help people who are actually depressed and wanting to hurt themselves, so that I can help people avoid that, because I recognize how the amount of pain that causes, right? And so I did, and I kind of discovered along the way that I was pretty good at listening and pretty good at trying to help people, so I've been doing that ever since. And I'm glad to say I've dealt with a lot of people who were in that state, and thankfully I think we were able to pull through. That's good. But I know it's a very painful thing when people are going through depression, and it's not something you should go about on your own. It's not something you can power through. Sometimes we need to allow ourselves to be helped.
Well, that actually brings me to my next question, because it really struck me when you said that no one knew in your family and stuff. So I wanted to kind of dig deeper into that and ask, how powerful do you think it would be to be somebody in a position like that and ask for help? Because my original question was going to be, do you think that people should ask for help? My answer is yes. I know your answer is going to be yes, people should ask for help. But what power does it give you to ask for help, and why shouldn't we go through things alone?
There's an old adage that says that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem, and it's, I think, very true. Most of the things that we're going through in life are temporary. They're not going to last forever. I remember a good friend of mine told me something, a saying that I've used myself whenever I've gone through a tough time or struggling or very stressed out, which he said, Frank, for right now, it's not forever. And I think that's true for most things. Most of the stuff we go through is a right now thing. It's not a forever thing. And if we can just hang in there and get help if we need it, we can eventually get through. If you get help, whether it's by calling and talking to someone, going to the hospital and checking yourself in, yeah, you're still going to be depressed afterwards. The problems are still going to be there, but you're not going to be suicidal anymore, right? And if you start getting help, you can start figuring out what's going on and what's maybe contributing to that depression, or figure out maybe solutions that you weren't even aware of to some of the problems that you're dealing with. There could be resources that you're not aware of. There could be things that therapists can help you understand that you weren't able to see before, and it can make difference. And believe me, I've worked with a lot of people who were suicidal, and then after getting help and getting the support, that changed. And I know a lot of them have said, I'm so glad I didn't do anything. So if anyone out there is struggling with depression, feeling like life is not worth living, feeling like they're not important, feeling like things will never change, please reach out and get some help. help, you know, because, you know, it can change. But, you know, sometimes we just can't do it on ourselves because there's a lot of things that because of our depression, because of the stuff we're going through, we may not be able to see at the moment. But that doesn't mean it's not there and that we can't see it later on. We just may need a little help in getting there.
Help, absolutely. I feel like we aren't built, like us as humans, we aren't built to go through things by ourselves. I feel like humanity as a collective is a very communal species, you know? I feel like human beings especially, you know, we've grown up since the beginning of time in community, and that's how we've survived this entire time. That's how we've evolved. That's how we've created spaces for each other and influenced each other and helped each other, really. Which is why it really confuses me to feel like at this point, when the technology has advanced to its greatest level, when communication is at your fingertips in every sense of the word, you know, now I've started to see at least an influx of people that choose to want to go through things by themselves. That when they have problems, their immediate reaction is to keep it to themselves and think, I can do this by myself. You know, and I've noticed that a lot in my own personal friends, even in my own self. I've cut myself off from help because I felt like I can get through it by myself, and who am I to burden somebody else with my problem? Do you think that there's a reason why we do that, especially now in this day and age?
I think it could be a variety of factors. I think one of the things that's still, I think, although it's a lot less, but I think is still present, is that we still kind of see mental health as sort of a stigma. Like, you know, if you got physically sick, right, you know, you have no problem running to the doctor and asking for help and, you know, getting some relief. But when it's a mental health issue, you know, we still have those things where we think, well, I'm not crazy, I'm not weak, I'm strong, and I don't need any help, and I can do these things. You know, if you can resolve it, wonderful. But if you're seeing that you're trying and it's not getting any better, you know, reach out and get help. You know, just like the body can get sick, so can the mind. There's no shame in that. It's just part of us. So because what can happen, you know, a lot of times when we're, you know, trying to power through these things, is we're not getting the help we need, we can start going into a deeper and deeper rut, right? And it makes it harder and harder to deal with, and then we can get a lot more distorted in our thinking and the way we're seeing things, and we can see things a lot worse than what they probably actually are.
It's a matter of perspective. Let's say we're faced with an issue of growing a business idea that we have, right? You wouldn't want to just go through it alone because you only have one perspective on this business, right? You only have your experiences that lead to your own perspectives, and when you grow a business that is supposed to help a lot of other people, you want a lot of different perspectives so that you can work out all the kinks. I feel like in some ways the same goes for our own health and the health of others and the health of our community. Is we need different perspectives on these things. I feel like one story that I have that really resonates with this whole thing is when I was going to therapy in college. It was my first ever year of therapy. I was at Ohio State. Go Bucks. Therapy.
Go Canes.
Oh my God. Anyways, it was the first time that I had ever tried therapy, and I really loved my counselor a lot. I had been seeing him for like 4 months at that point, and I was really struggling with my self-image at that point in my life. I kept thinking very badly of myself. I had very negative thoughts of myself. I kept thinking that I was a bad person, that I brought no value into the lives of others, that I couldn't do anything with my life, that there was no hope, whatever. And I had all of these thoughts back then. And I would tell him how a lot of times my friends would think the opposite of me, that they think that I was a very creative, loving, caring person, that I lit up the room. And I would tell him and I would say, I just don't see it. I don't see what they see. I only see the bad. And I remember my therapist telling me, and he said, and it really struck me, he was like, how dare you? And I'm like, how dare I what? Like, you know what? And he's like, how dare you think that your opinion is so much better and so much higher than those around you, that the only opinion that you value is your own, and that you can't even bear to see the perspectives of others. And I was like, damn!
Or
like,
see things from a different perspective.
See things from a point of view that was outside of my own. In some way, it was selfish of me. Obviously, like, no, like if you're going through something bad and you have bad self-perception, obviously, like, it's very complex. But it really brought it to my attention that other people's perspectives are as valid as your own. And if you're going through something where you're stuck in this rut, or you're stuck in this mindset that you're a bad person, that you don't do anything for people, and this and that and all this that stacks up, and there's people in your life that are acknowledging the opposite and that are acknowledging other things, why is it weighted more than people that see you all the time? That people that see things that you don't see? Because you may be sitting here thinking, well, you know, my friends don't go home with me and they don't see the after hours version of me. You know, I put on a mask or whatever. But even in in those times where you're with your friends, they're seeing things that you aren't even capable of seeing because you may be focused on all the negative and they may be focused on the positive. So they're bound to see the positive, right?
And one of the things that happens that people are not aware of is happening, and it's very important to become aware that this is happening, is what's called cognitive distortions, right? As Diana was talking about these things, I was able to identify about 3 or 4 that she was having during that time that she wasn't aware that she was having. But now, with more insight and with the help that she's gotten, she's, I think, a lot more in tune with it and can probably catch herself now and reframe it. But cognitive distortions, very, simply, are just basically, we all have them, by the way. This is not just for people who are depressed or anxious. Every single person experiences cognitive distortions, but when you tend to be, depressed or anxious, they tend to be more on the negative side. So for example, one of the ones that Diana was talking about was called discounting the positive. Discounting the positive is basically anything that's bad, you own it and it's yours. So any mistake you made, any failure or anything you feel that is negative, you feel that is truthful of you. But then anything positive, you will tend to discount it, like she was doing. People were complimenting her. I know for a fact that I've always told you how great you were, right? And how great you are and how proud I was of you and everything, and your mom and everybody did too. But when you were in that state, you probably thought we were being nice, or we had to say it because we're your family or whatever. And or if your friends said it, it was just them being kind, but not that they really meant it. And I think your therapist helped you to realize that, like, why is your opinion the only one that counts here? Why are we accepting only the bad when there's also the good, right? And when you're depressed, you don't see the good. But that's a mistake. That's not an accurate description of reality. That's why these cognitive distortions are inaccurate ways of perceiving reality, right? But that's, and one of the things that I think is important for people to realize is that, when you become aware of these, it kind of gives you a lot of power, because you can actually change the way you feel about things by changing the way you look at them, right? There's an old adage that says, when I change the way I look at things, the things I look at change. Basically, what happens up here is going to manifest down here. So if up here is negative, down here has to be negative. If you're having sad thoughts, you're going to be sad. If you're having scary thoughts, you're going to be anxious. So if we learn to do this, kind of like, I use the analogy of like when we're watching TV or something and we, turn on something we don't like, maybe it's disturbing, or we just, hate the movie or whatever. What do? Change the channel. Or if we're listening to a song we don't like, we change the station, right? Nobody says, oh my God, I hate this song, let me put it on a loop. But we do that with our thinking.
Very true.
We will go and think about these negative things over and over and over again.
And think them as fact.
And take them as fact, as opposed to even maybe opinion, my own opinion, but not necessarily fact. Or maybe there's a different way of looking at this. Like maybe you could start off thinking he's being rude to you and start feeling angry, but then you could stop and say, wait a minute, hold on, how do I know that? I don't know this person. Maybe he's worried about something, and you can go from angry to sympathetic. Situation didn't change, but your feelings changed, because you can learn to change the channel. And the more you're able to become aware of these things, and the more you're able to maybe use some of these skills or these tools, the more you're going to be able to help you. And this is something that can help you with anything in life, right?
That's such a good analogy too, to kind of think about things as bad songs or bad TV shows, like our thoughts can be bad songs that we don't want to be replayed. And that's so true. We're very adamant. When I go on my phone and I put my music on shuffle, I'll shuffle it 10 times until I get a good song. We tend to not do that with our thoughts. We tend to have the bad song and play the bad song 10 times over. And yeah, that goes back to also just being aware of your thoughts as well. Like I know a lot of times where I have friends that come to me with, different problems, or I've gone to my friends with problems, and we kind of go back and forth on this idea that, we have this situation, we make an opinion of the situation, and then that opinion that we have is fact.
Or we accept other people's opinions as fact. Like in the case of people who are maybe have been bullied or whatever, we take whatever they're telling us as fact, as opposed to recognizing that any person that needs to bring someone else down,
absolutely,
there's something wrong with them. It has nothing to do with you.
Bullies can come in all forms, in all roles in our lives. Bullies can be, the typical bully we see in school. They can be our bosses, they can be our coworkers, they can be our parents. Sometimes parents can be your biggest bullies in a lot of times. Obviously not talking about you or my mom, but I'm saying, there are a lot of people that grow up in different family situations.
Actually, it was the opposite.
Yeah, I was the bully. I was the bully to my dad. A lot of people can grow up in different family situations, and a lot of their situations can arise as that. As you grow up, and the person that is supposed to be your biggest role model can actually be the person that brings you down a lot. And I'm here to say, and I think we are both here to say, that any role that any bully plays in your life, that's still just one person, out of the multitude of people that you're gonna meet in your life. Also, I wanted to talk about, I guess, power of vulnerability, and I think the big fear that comes with it. I know a lot of times it's very hard. It is very hard for people to want to open themselves up to other people and kind of unleash a side of themselves that they've never let somebody else see. And sometimes they've never even let themselves see. I know a lot of people that when they are faced with problems, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to acknowledge it as a problem. They want it to go away, but it doesn't go away.
Right.
It's still there. It's still there. And I think a lot of that has to do with fear, and the fear of being vulnerable, and the fear of being judged, the fear of being rejected, of being abandoned because of things like this. So what can somebody do to let go of that fear?
In the case of all fears, once we face them, you realize they're a lot worse in our minds than they are.
I literally can't even think of one, like besides death, I guess, like a fear that is as bad as you make it out to be in your head. Obviously, besides the big ones like drowning, murder, whatever, like all those, fine, that's bad. But like fear of spider, and I'm scared of spiders. I'm very scared of them, but I know if a spider was just on me and didn't bite me and didn't cause any havoc in my life, I feel like I would be a lot less scared of them. The reason why I'm so scared of them and why every time they're there is because there's a lot of things going on in my head.
A lot of cognitive distortions.
A lot of cognitive distortions. I've never experienced what it's like to have a spider on my hand. Right. So I make these things up, and therefore I become very scared. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if there's a fear that you can think of that is as bad in your head as it is in real life, I would love for you guys to comment it, because I seriously can't think of one. And that goes to what you're saying, is that fear is in the mind and reality will never change.
The things that are going on outside of you, whether it's the people that are around you, whether it's the events, whether it's your past history, those things don't have to change for you to change the effects that it has on you, right? And for you to also be able to, because some people have gone through a lot of traumatic experiences, and that's never easy to handle, but we can heal, right? But to heal, we ultimately need to go through and deal with the pain, right? There's an old adage, before anything heals, it hurts, and we have to go through the pain first, right? If I broke my arm, the healing process is going to hurt, getting the bone reset and then going through the thing, and it's going to be discomfort. If I do all the things that I need to do to make sure that it heals properly, eventually it's going to heal. And emotional wounds are the same. It's going to hurt in the beginning, but if we take care of it, as time goes on, as we continue to take care of it, it starts to heal, and then we can move forward. We can leave it behind as part of our history, a chapter in our life, but it doesn't have to be our lives. And then we can put ourselves in the position where we're now going to write and dictate the future chapters and what we want our lives to be now. Just because you went through something terrible doesn't mean that you have to be a victim of it all your life. You can heal, and you can move forward, and you can create something new for yourself. But it takes time and it takes effort. Just going back as far as opening yourself up to help. Things I always suggest is just start wherever you're at. Just because you go to a therapist doesn't mean that the first session or even the first few sessions you have to spill your guts on everything and tell them everything and talk about things that you're not ready to talk about or you're not comfortable talking about. You can start with whatever you're comfortable with sharing. Because like anything else in any kind of relationship, you have to develop the trust first, and that could take time. But get started. It's the most important thing, especially if you feel like you need the help. Don't let those fears about what it's like and what if this and what if that, because that's another kind of thinking. We do a lot of what if thinking. What if this and what if that, right? As opposed to what is. What is happening? Where am I right now? What do I need right now? How can I, deal with whatever it is I'm going to, as opposed to, worrying about what's going to happen? Because a lot of times with what if thinking, it's been shown that, a lot of times most of the things that we worry about, they don't happen. And the things that do happen, we actually handle them a lot better than we thought we could.
Yes.
Right? It's one of the things where worrying is one of those vicious cycles where we're spending a lot of energy. It's kind of like you've seen in the movies, those tires that are like stuck in a ditch or something, and they're, accelerating and the wheel is turning, there's smoke coming out of the wheel, but it's not moving anywhere. That's what happens with worrying. We are spending a lot of energy going in circles, but we're not moving anywhere. We need to move, and for that we need to take steps, and we need to be willing to take some risks there, and just it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay.
Absolutely. It's amazing to be vulnerable. It's very brave to be vulnerable too.
Yeah.
It's one of the bravest things you can do, is to open yourself up to people and allow people to see you for who you are in this world. It's actually one of the most rewarding things in this world. But yeah, I feel like that's what I wanted to talk about. I think we've talked about some good stuff. I hope you guys have gotten a lot of good insights from my dear old dad. I'm very happy to have him in my life, for him to be my father. And I hope he can act as that for some of you as well. So thank you guys so much for being part of this. I'm glad.
Wait a minute.
Wait, what?
Hold on a second. You're not gonna just, end this little get together without me saying how proud I am of
Right.
you, and what a wonderful daughter you've always been, and what a wonderful person you are, and how proud I am of you, and how much I love you, and like the greatest thing that happened to me, and your brother and sister too, of course, a family. It's wonderful for you. A blessing, a blessing. I love you, and I'm proud of you, and I think you're doing a lot of good things here. I think you're reaching out to a lot of people, and I can see in some of the responses, that people are,
in the comments,
are identifying, and I think that they're being helped, and I just hope that continues, and that
absolutely
everybody out there that needs help, go get it.
Go get it.
Go get it. Go find
Run,
someone.
don't walk.
Yes.
Run. We are all family here. We are all a big, beautiful community of human beings. We are here to help each other. So allow yourself to be helped. Go get it, and don't fear it, and just let it come to you. Let it happen. Just feel the love. It's out there. It's out there for you, for every single person in this world.
And you deserve it.
Absolutely.
And if you've ever been led to believe that you don't, it's not true.
That's not true. And you heard it here first from both of us. Even if you don't believe that, you will eventually. After watching some of our videos, you will. If you feel comfortable sharing any of your stories, if you feel like you're a person that has reached out for help in any capacity, I would love to read it, and I'm sure a lot of the other people watching this video would love to read it too. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, do your thing. We're very, very happy to have this platform and talk to you guys, and I hope that you gain some value from watching us. And with that, just want to say from all of us, from me, my dad, and Lucas, we love you very, very much, and we'll see you next week. Not him, but I'll see you next week.
Man.
Mwah! Love you guys.